So far, we've been talking about that marketing promise. What's the communication that we have, and the product service reality? That was real reason to believe. How is it that we can do this? And we can talk about these all day long, but now it's time to think about that pricing. I want to be a capitalist. I want to make some money here. It's time to talk about our profit formula. So what we do is when we look at our pricing, it's always being driven by costs and the industry, and also by our choice of a business model. So pricing, again, is determined by the industry, but it's also determined by how we decide to sell our innovation and what that business model looks like. There are 4 business models, really, that we want to talk about here when we talk about your innovation and the business simulation that you're going to be filling out. The first model is buy once. Perhaps you have an innovation that people just buy one time, and that's it, and they never come back to you again until they want to buy it years down the road. For example, a stove. You buy it once, $10,000, you buy it once, and that's how it goes. A second business model is making money on refills. Some innovations and some products, people prefer to make the money more so on the refills than on the initial purchase. So for example, a lot of razor companies, they give the razor away for free, but they charge for the blades. Or a low-cost printer, they don't charge you a lot for the printer, they'll give you a really deep discount on it because they know they're going to make the money from selling the cartridges. And here's some examples of those. A third business model is consumable, buy and repurchase, where people might buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 at a time. So for example, this motor oil, people might buy this a couple of times at a time and they buy them throughout the year. That's consumable. People just buy and repurchase as needed. And then the fourth business model is that you buy a hardware and a service contract. So it's kind of a little bit of both, where you're going to buy one thing at one time, and then there's a monthly or a yearly fee or service contract or maintenance that goes along with it. So those are the 4 business models to think about when we're going through the business simulation. Now, one thing we have to keep in mind before we go forward is a key concept of the unit price and how that works with the business simulation. Let's take, for example, tires. If you were selling a tire, and let's say you're selling the tire for $50 per tire. That's the unit price. I'm going to sell them at $50 per tire. However, consumers buy 2 or 4 tires at a time. I mean, nobody buys 1 tire at a time, and nobody buys 3 tires at a time, right? They usually buy 2 or 4. So, if we assume that consumers buy 2 or 4 tires at a time, maybe we make the assumption that 50% buy 2 tires, so they spend $100 every time they come to our store, and 50% buy 4 tires. They spend $200 every time they come to the store. If this is the case, then we're going to say to the Merwyn business simulation that our first purchase revenue is $150. Okay, so again, just to go over it one more time. If the unit price is $50, however, we assume that people only buy 2 or 4 at a time, and we're going to assume that half the time they buy 2 and the other half the time they buy 4. That means on average people are buying 3 tires, right? So if half the time they buy 2 and half the time they buy 4, that means the average is 3. So 3 times $50 is $150. And by first purchase revenue, what we mean there is the first time they come into our store, the first time we see this customer and they're walking into our store, they're going to drop $150 for their tires on average. Now, when we're going to be working with this, it's always extremely important to document your basis for this estimate and data. We don't know, we're making assumptions, and that's okay, right? This is a sales forecast. So the best thing you can do is document it, because when you look back, you can say where you got your ideas from. So document, document, document. Let's look at our 4 business models and go a little bit deeper into this initial revenue per purchase. So initial revenue per purchase. And we talked about the stove, right? You buy it once. That means when the customer comes in or the final decision maker comes in, they drop a check for $10,000 and voila, they're gone. With the razor, the initial purchase revenue per purchase, we're going to give it away for free, so we don't make any money for that original purchase. Or perhaps it's a consumable. Just like the tires, we make the assumption that anytime somebody buys motor oil, they buy 2 bottles, not 1. So we're going to say the average is a bottle and a half. Or I'm sorry, three bottles. Sorry about that. But we're going to say the average is a bottle and a half, $20 per bottle. So we're going to say, on average, when people come in, the first time they come in to buy motor oil, they're spending $30. That's the average. And then our 4th model is TV with a contract. The first time they come in, we're going to say they spend $10,000 because they're just buying the TV right now. Again, so those are the 4 models, and that's how that applies to initial revenue per purchase. That first time the final decision maker comes in and purchases your innovation, how much are they spending that one time the first time they come? How much are they spending that one time the first time they come? Now I want to talk about repeat revenue. So that was initial revenue, but what if they come back, right? What if there's more things besides that one time? Because of course that happens. Well, think of the cell phone, for example, right? So the first time somebody comes in, they buy the phone and they pay money for the phone, and then they're going to pay a monthly service fee for the next 12 months. Well, in the Merwyn business simulation, we want to know how much are they going to spend the first time they see you, and how much are they going to spend for the remainder of the 12 months. So the way this is going to work is, for example, with the phone is what's the phone price, and then what's that monthly service fee for 12 months. So here's how it works with our 4 examples. With the stove, we're going to assume that nobody's going to buy another stove from us within 12 months, so we're going to say that there's no repeat revenue. We're going to say with the razor, well, we think that every single time somebody comes back to buy razors, on average they're going to buy 2. So we're going to say it's a $5 repeat revenue per purchase. We assume that on the average, people purchase 2 razors every time they come back in. With motor oil, we discussed earlier that we think the average is 1.5 bottles. So we say every time they come back into the store, we think they're buying on average $30 worth of motor oil. And then with our service contract, on average, they're only going to buy 1 year of a contract in 12 months. So it's $1,000. So we're not deciding how many times people come back with this number. I'm not talking about that yet. So for example, with the razor, I'm not asking you how many times they come back and buy razors. I just want to know when they come back, how much are they spending? So let's go ahead and jump into our individual exercise and practice this once. This exercise is called Show Me the Money. So on page 20, individually write an obvious business model, what you currently think your business model is for your innovation. You're going to write down the unit price, what for what. So unit price, for example, $50 for 1 tire. Then I want you to tell us what the initial revenue is for that purchase. So the first time a final decision maker purchases your tires, what's the average ticket price? What's the average ticket price the first time they buy it? In the example we shared before, we said $150. We think on average they're going to buy 3 tires, so $150. I'm going to write all those assumptions down because I don't want to lose it. Then I want to know, when they come back into the store to buy tires, how much are they going to spend? And we're going to say, well, I think they're still going to buy 3 tires is the average, so I'll put $150 down. Again, we are not saying how many times they come back. We're not guessing how many people are coming. All I want to know is that first time they walk in and the final decision maker wants to buy your innovation, how much are they spending? And then the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, when they repeat, when they come back, on average, how much are they spending? So go ahead and take a shot at it, and use the examples in the gray box to help find and collaborate where you are according to those.